Ever stop to think about how that little app you scroll through every day, the one with the photos of food and sunsets, became one of the most powerful forces in modern culture? It's an incredible story. It's about a brilliant pivot, some ruthless strategy, and one of the biggest buyouts in tech history. Let's tear it down.
$1 billion. That's the number. In 2012, Facebook dropped $1 billion on Instagram, a tiny company with just 13 people on the payroll and, get this, zero revenue. It sounded completely crazy at the time. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack exactly how that happened, how they built this global empire, and most importantly, what they need to do right now to fix a pretty serious identity crisis.
All right, so to really get Instagram, you have to know a little secret. It was never supposed to be Instagram. The app we know today was actually born from the failure of another app. It's a pivot so legendary, it basically became the playbook for every startup in Silicon Valley.
So, the original idea was this app called Burbn. And man, it was a mess. It tried to do everything. Check-ins like Foursquare, planning features, a point system. It was just too complicated. The genius move wasn't what they added, it was what they took away. They looked at the data and realized people only really cared about one thing, posting photos. So they stripped everything else out.
The data was practically screaming at them. People were ignoring all the clutter and just using the photo feature. But there was a catch. Back then, phone cameras weren't great, and people were kind of insecure about their photos. And that's where the magic happened. Filters. With one tap, you could make a boring photo look cool, artistic, shareable. It wasn't just a feature. It was a confidence booster.
And the result? Absolute lightning in a bottle. We're talking 25,000 users on day one, 1 million users in less than 3 months. And just a year and a half after launch, Facebook comes knocking. They paid $1 billion, not just to own a cool app, but to take a major competitor off the board. A competitor that was completely changing the game.
So that brings us to today. Because after that acquisition, Instagram got hooked up to the Meta machine. They got the resources, the engineers, the ad tech to not just get your attention, but to turn it into a money-making engine on a scale that's hard to even wrap your head around.
So where does the money come from?
Well, no surprise, it's mostly a gigantic advertising business. We're talking over $70 billion a year. But that's kind of the boring part. The real story, the part that tells you where they're going, is in those smaller slices. Social commerce and the creator economy, those aren't just features, they're huge bets on the future of the platform. And the reason they can make these bets is because of this beautiful, powerful idea called the network effect flywheel. It's simple, really. More users on the app attract the best creators. Those creators make awesome stuff, which, in turn, pulls in even more users. And the wheel just spins faster and faster. It creates this incredible gravity that is almost impossible for a competitor to break out of.
But that dominance doesn't go unchallenged. For the past few years, Instagram has been fighting a war for your attention. And its main weapon isn't exactly innovation, it's imitation.
I mean, you've seen this playbook a dozen times. If you can't buy them, clone them. Snapchat comes up with ephemeral stories, boom, Instagram Stories appears. TikTok goes viral with short-form video, well, hello there, Instagram Reels. It's a fast follower strategy, and it is brutally effective.
So you might be asking, why does this work so well for them? It all comes back to their moat. They have over 2 billion users. They can roll out a copycat feature to that entire audience overnight. They can plug it into Meta's ridiculously powerful ad engine. See, they don't have to invent the best new thing. They just have to make a good enough version and deliver it at a scale that no startup could ever dream of.
Okay, so Instagram is this massive money-printing competition cloning machine. Sounds like they've won, right? Game over? Well, not so fast. If you look really closely, you can start to see some pretty deep cracks forming in the empire's foundation. The truth is, Instagram is facing a real identity crisis, which brings us to the big question. If they're so dominant, what's the actual problem here? Well, it turns out there are 3 huge product gaps hiding in plain sight. First up, the creators. You know, the actual people who make the content that keeps us all scrolling. They are building their careers on rented land. Their income depends on random brand deals, and their entire audience is held hostage by a mysterious algorithm they can't control. It's an incredibly stressful and unstable way to make a living. Second, the shopping experience is just broken. We've all been there. You see a product you love, you tap to buy it, and suddenly you're redirected to some sketchy-looking website, and you have to type in your credit card info all over again. That friction,
kills sales and leaves a mountain of money on the table.
And third, this one might be the most important. In the race to compete with TikTok, Instagram has kind of lost its soul. The main feed isn't really for your friends anymore, is it? It's an endless fire hose of entertainment from strangers, all chosen by an algorithm. The social part of this social network is fading.
Now, these aren't just little bugs. Unhappy creators, frustrated shoppers, disconnected friends. These are real existential threats. So that brings us to the most interesting part of this teardown. If we were product managers, how would we fix this? Let's map out a speculative roadmap for Instagram's next chapter.
Okay, here's a possible 3-year plan. Year 1, you focus on the foundation. You have to win back the creators. Year 2, you build the commerce engine of the future, something truly seamless. And in year 3, you use that foundation to pioneer what's next for social media. Real community.
So for creators, you build something called Creator HQ. Think of it as their mission control, a dashboard with real, useful analytics, tools to actually talk to their biggest fans, and, critically, a built-in, low-friction tipping feature so they can earn a stable income directly from the people who love their work.
For shoppers, you go all in on augmented reality. Imagine this. You see a pair of sunglasses you like. You tap a button, and you can instantly try them on using your phone's camera. You pair that with a secure one-tap Insta wallet, and you've just solved the 2 biggest problems in social commerce: trust and friction.
And to fix that big, fuzzy problem of losing your friends, you create spaces. Imagine a persistent, private little corner of Instagram just for you and your inner circle. It would have its own feed, its own stories, totally separate from the main algorithm. No influencers, no ads, just a place to be social with the people you actually know. A return to what made Instagram special in the first place.
So look, Instagram is betting big on AI and commerce. And they'll make a ton of money, for sure. But the real nagging question is this. Can you solve a human problem with technology? Can a platform that became famous for perfectly curated, polished lives ever solve its own crisis of authenticity? What do you think? Let me know in the comments.